On behalf, تعال هنا. On behalf of
that's a halal kiss.
On behalf of Muslims for Progressive Values and our progressive Muslims community worldwide, the Badshah and Beacon of Truth Award goes to Bassem Youssef.
So much. I would like to thank the Academy. Are you sure, guys, you want to trust me with something that sharp and heavy? I'm from the Middle East, after all, you know? All right, thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, thank you. This is lovely. Thank you. What's up, non-scary Muslims? How are you? It's nice to be here. I prepared a speech and everything. I have to apologize that I feel like crap. I'm just out of a plane for 16 hours. I just came off a very long flight from Dubai. I just want, before I begin my speech, I just want to comment on a couple of things that I heard tonight. One thing about the honor killing. Honor killing is not just common in Pakistan, it's common in so many Arab and Muslim countries, like, for example, Jordan and Saudi Arabia and a lot of Gulf countries, and even Egypt. And I always found it very fascinating that it's basically a crime that occurs because a man or a group of men decides that the behavior of a certain woman or women is worthy of them being killed, which is crazy that they link their honor to their behavior of women. Because if it was linked to their own behavior, I think they would have killed themselves a long time ago. It doesn't work this way. The other thing is that something that Annie said in the beginning of the night about Islam Bahari being released and he's being pardoned by President Sisi. Just let's remember who actually put him in jail. It was the same guy. And I just want to mention this because it's the narrative that we all have our problems with fascist Islamic regimes and extreme Muslim regimes, but that should not make us prefer military regimes over them or think they are more secular than Islamic regimes. As a matter of fact, the only reason many of the extreme Islamic practices occurs in many of the countries is because they are enforced by military regimes. Al-Azhar does not have police, it does not have army. It's the military regimes who actually allows this to happen. I just wanted to clarify this in the beginning, and now we can begin my acceptance speech. So how do we start this? Friends, Romans, and soon to be deported Muslims. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor. I mean, I moved to LA a couple of months ago, and now I'm having an award. It's like a welcome package to residents. I don't know. And I know that LA loves to pat themselves on the back during award seasons, but there's room for only one Egyptian in this room and in this town, and we all know that it's Rami Malek, of course. It's the and so I saw the name of your group, which is Muslims for Progressive Values. Nowadays, for many people, the name Muslim Progressive is kind of an oxymoron. It's like Fox News, Fair and Balanced. And I was a bit hesitant to accept the invitation because, as you might have heard, I am not very popular with many people who call themselves Muslims. And I'm also not very popular with people who call themselves patriotic. Both of them have very poor sense of humor. I'm hated by both, so apparently I must be doing something right. And that reminds me with America's first politically subversive comics, Groucho Marx, who stated, I wouldn't want to belong to any club that would have me as a member. But then I had an enlightening call with Annie and a change of heart. She told me about your group and what you stand for, and there was no need for hesitation anymore. So now I know I'm here amongst friends. Being a Muslim today is hard. We seem to walk around with a chip on our shoulder. But if it's hard being a traditional Muslim, I think it's even harder to be a progressive Muslim. This might sound strange, but the more traditional, conservative, or even extreme Muslim you are, the easier it is for you. The extreme mind is quite simple. They listen to whatever is the most hateful and dehumanizing and regurgitate the information. They dial up every ideology, every emotion, and every perspective up to the max. When those who consider themselves custodians of Islam tell you that God is on our side, you can justify any hurtful language or behavior without a second thought. This mindset is universally common. There is a perceived religious hierarchy within all major religions. When boiled down, it is no different than being a racist. An extreme mind can only see extreme differences. It's zeros or ones. It's all or none. Extremists think that they are better than their fellow humans because they have a certain skin tone or that they belong to a certain religion. People that think that their race is superior are no different than those who think that they are God favorites. Racists, religious fanatics, and ultranationalists have it much easier than the rest of us. Their playbook is simple, clear, and quite stupid. They have no second thoughts, no doubts about their convictions, and no thought process that allows for humanity and compassion to take over. You see, being human is a messy, multifaceted process. You have to pull your head out of your ass long enough to consider how complicating our very existence is. Those people don't do complicated. Then there are people like you, people who have gone through a great deal of trouble trying to overcome centuries of orders, rules, and interpretations that have made Islam what it is today. You are rejecting the notion that a divine message could be filled of hate and anger. You bravely go against the tide, resist the common narrative, and revolt against the status quo. But still you can't win. Your ideas may be considered blasphemous by many mainstream Muslims. And on the other hand, many of those who hate Islam, especially after seeing how it is represented today, they reject your ideas of being Muslim altogether. They accuse you of cherry picking, trying to create a new religion of your own, or at best, they call you a delusional hippie who got it all wrong. Islamists and Islamophobes have one thing in common. They don't consider you to be a good enough Muslim. You guys really got the worst of both worlds. Every day you find yourself having to prove something. You are trying to prove to non-Muslims that the actions committed by some people belonging to the same religion as you are not representative of your beliefs, while simultaneously recognizing where it came from. You know the roots of this hatred and terrorism. In the morning, you defend yourself against non-Muslims who attack you for being part of the religion. And by lunch, you have already argued with another Muslim who adopts those same interpretations that allows for heinous acts of hatred and terrorism. Both sides accuse you of making up a whole different religion that is neither accepted or validated by either side. You guys are very lonely Muslims. We should start creating a Tinder-like app for you. Netflix and chilling afterwards is optional. So I'm sorry to say that Islam as it exists today, as it is represented by the angry, bigoted majority, has made it difficult for all of us. You can't escape the mainstream generalization, and it really doesn't matter if you call yourself Muslim or not. If you remain in the faith or totally denounce it, you will be considered that kind of Muslim. Our skin, our accent, our names have locked us into this stereotype forever. Except, of course, Michael Alexander. You're white, so you can pass for anything. This is why trying to inspire change and pushing for a more progressive narrative into the faith is not just a choice. It's a matter of survival. When hatred, xenophobia, and racism dominate the narrative, it doesn't matter how faithful you are or how committed you are to the faith. It will never be enough for the most extreme among us. You might be an atheist named Muhammad, or an Egyptian Christian Copt named Michael, or an Indian Sikh named Singh. Fanatical hatred doesn't discriminate. The haters will find a way to denounce us all. Trying to find a way to make the fanatics on both sides view us differently is no easy task. But it's not impossible. As a matter of fact, I do see hope. I see the tides turning. For hundreds of years, and maybe until very recently, there were generations who were deprived the right to question, to argue, or dispute anything that is related to religion. Although Islam prides itself as a religion that is devoid of false idols and a religion that encourages questioning and discovery, we can see over the years that many false idols have been created and are now an integral part of the religion. Those idols came in the form of old books, infallible sheikhs and scholars who controlled the mindset of millions of Muslims even long after their death. For a very long time, questioning became prohibited. They told us it was prohibited to prevent fitna, to protect us from doubts and the weakening of our faith. Many Muslim scholars tell you that it is a religion of logic as long as it is a logic that they can control. Any attempt to dwell outside of the permitted parameters of total blind obedience is faced with scorn and contempt. But now there are younger generations that are not swayed or discouraged by this perceived prohibition of questioning or the ready-made guilt. They don't seek out scholars still living in the past who can't handle an inevitable future. The younger generations have access to unlimited sources of information. They are getting smarter and more cynical about what their parents took for granted. The extreme version of Islam that exists today is not only incompatible with the world we live in, it is also not sustainable. After decades of being carefully protected from questioning, this old version of Islam has grown weak and unfit. Avoiding challenge has atrophied the traditional religion. The so-called custodians of religion are feeling that. And due to their weaker state, they have nothing else to do but throw violent tantrums to try to withstand the changing tides. It is the people like you in this room who will help shape what the religion would look like in the next few decades. It's no easy task, and we may not see the results today, but the process has already started. You call yourselves Muslims for Progressive Values, or MPVs. But really, you should be considered Islam's MVPs. I'm grateful that you could consider me as a part of the team. Thank you for the award. Thank you so much for honoring me.
She's out. Give it up for the one and only Bassem Youssef, everybody.